It started as an ordinary Saturday afternoon at the grocery store parking lot. A woman and her 8-year-old son were loading groceries into their car when 3 men approached them. What happened next was shocking. They grabbed her purse. They pushed her to the ground. They didn't know that this woman had trained to be one of the most dangerous fighters in the world. They didn't know she was a Navy SEAL. And when she made her move, these criminals had no idea what was coming. Asterisk. Asterisk why this works asterisk. Immediate sense of danger and injustice. A mother protecting her son triggers deep emotional connection. The mystery about the Navy SEAL creates suspense. Older audiences connect with themes of justice and protection. Viewers can't help but keep watching. Her name was Commander Rachel Martinez, and she lived a double life. On Saturdays, she was a mother. She wore casual jeans, a simple gray hoodie, and carried a diaper bag even though her son Tommy was 8 years old. She packed it with snacks, toys, and a change of clothes, the everyday essentials of a parent who'd learned to be prepared for anything. But Monday through Friday, Rachel was something else entirely. She was a Navy SEAL. At 42 years old, Commander Martinez was one of the most decorated SEALs in United States naval history. She had completed over 200 combat missions. She had trained soldiers from 12 different countries. She had earned commendations for bravery that she never talked about at home. Most importantly, she had learned to never, ever let her guard down. But that Saturday at the grocery store parking lot, she was trying. She was trying to be normal. She was trying to be just a mom. Tommy had asked if they could go to the grocery store to pick out ingredients for pizza night, his favorite thing in the world. Rachel had said yes, and they'd spent the last 2 hours walking through the store, with Tommy helping her pick out tomatoes and mozzarella cheese. It was simple. It was peaceful. It was the kind of normal life that Rachel had fought so hard to protect for so many people around the world. Tommy sat in the back seat of their silver Honda, playing with a toy car while Rachel loaded the groceries into the trunk. She was wearing her wireless earbuds, which were connected to her phone, a habit from her military days. Always aware of your surroundings. Always listening. It was 3:47 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon in suburban Portland, Oregon. A busy shopping district with plenty of people around. The kind of place where you'd think you'd be safe. But safety is an illusion. Rachel had learned that lesson a long time ago. The parking lot was moderately crowded. Cars came and went. Families pushed shopping carts. Kids ran between vehicles. Rachel had parked in the middle of the lot, not too close to the store, not too far away. A tactical choice she didn't even think about anymore. She'd positioned her car so she could see the front of the store and the exits clearly. Her purse was in the passenger seat, within arm's reach but not obvious. Her phone was in her front pocket, and her keys were in her hand. These weren't paranoid choices. They were professional choices. They were the choices of someone who'd spent 20 years learning to survive dangerous situations. But even professionals make mistakes. Rachel didn't see the 3 men approaching until they were already there. She noticed one first, a tall man with a shaved head and a thick neck. He was wearing an expensive jacket, despite the warm weather. His hands were clenched into fists at his sides. His eyes had that particular look that Rachel recognized immediately. The look of someone who decided to hurt someone else. She had maybe 3 seconds to assess him. That was enough. Before she could close the trunk and move closer to Tommy, 2 more men appeared from behind a nearby SUV. One was shorter, with a scraggly beard and tattoos running up both arms. The other was medium height, with a scar across his face that suggested he'd been in fights before. "Hey there, pretty lady," the tall man said, his voice deep and threatening. "You look like you're having a good day." Rachel's entire body shifted into a different state of being. Her mind stopped thinking like a mother and started thinking like a soldier. Her muscles tensed. Her breathing slowed. Every single part of her was suddenly aware and ready. "I'm going to ask you to step back," Rachel said, her voice calm and steady. She closed the trunk of her car with one hand while keeping her body between the men and Tommy. "Oh, we're not going anywhere," the man with the scar said, grinning. "In fact, we think you should give us that pretty purse you got. And maybe that car too. Those are some nice things you got there." This was a robbery. These men were criminals. They targeted Rachel because they thought she was just another woman in a parking lot, an easy mark. They were wrong about that. I need you to understand something, Rachel said, her voice still calm. I'm going to ask you one more time. Walk away. Right now. This doesn't have to happen. Tough talk for someone who's about to get knocked down, the tall man said. He took a step closer. That's when Tommy saw what was happening through the car window. Mommy, he called out, his voice small and scared. Mommy, what's happening? The sound of her son's fear did something to Rachel. It activated something primal inside her. Protect. Defend. Eliminate the threat. But she tried one more time to keep this from escalating. My son is in the car, Rachel said to the men, her voice sharp now. You don't want to do this. Walk away. Now. The tall man laughed. Actually laughed. As if Rachel's warning was the funniest thing he'd heard all day. That little kid is about to watch his mommy get taught a lesson, he said. That was the moment Rachel made a choice. She'd hoped she could resolve this without violence. She'd hoped they would listen. She'd hoped they would understand that there were consequences for certain decisions. But they didn't listen. And that meant Tommy was going to see something he should never have to see. His mother fighting. The tall man threw a punch. What happened next would become known as the parking lot incident in local police reports and news stories. But it was so much more than that. The tall man's fist came at Rachel with force. He'd clearly been in fights before. He had technique. He knew how to throw a punch. But he'd never fought someone like Rachel Martinez. She moved with the efficiency of someone who'd trained for 2 decades. Her hand came up, blocking his punch with precision. At the same moment, her other arm shot out, driving her palm into his solar plexus, hard enough to knock the wind out of him but not hard enough to do permanent damage. Not yet, anyway. The man stumbled backward, gasping for air. His 2 friends looked shocked. They'd expected an easy fight. Last chance, Rachel said. Leave now, and this ends here. But the man with the scar stepped forward. I don't know what kind of luck you got, lady, but you just made a big mistake, he said. He threw a punch at Rachel. She ducked under it with minimal movement and countered with a sharp elbow strike to his ribs. The man cried out in pain and fell to his knees. Now there was only one man left, the one with the tattoos. He looked terrified. Don't even think about it, Rachel said, her eyes locked on him. But the tall man, the one she'd hit first, was recovering. He'd gotten his breath back, and now his face was twisted with rage. He'd come here expecting to rob a woman and now he was humiliated in front of his friends. You stupid woman, he spat. You have no idea who you're messing with. He threw another punch, this one more controlled, trying a different angle. Rachel blocked it, but this time she added something extra. She grabbed his wrist, twisted it with controlled force, and used his own momentum to throw him to the ground. The tall man crashed into the asphalt, hard. For a moment, everything was still. One man was on his knees, gasping for breath. One man was on his back, trying to push himself up. The third man with the tattoos was backing away slowly, trying to disappear into the parking lot. That's the smart choice, Rachel said to him. But people had seen what was happening now. Other shoppers were starting to stop and stare. A woman was calling 911 on her phone. A man had pulled out his camera, recording everything. The tall man pushed himself up onto his elbows, blood running from his mouth. You're going to regret this, he growled. We know where you live. We'll come back. We'll burn your house down with your kid in it. That's when Rachel did something she hadn't done yet. She walked over to him, grabbed him by the front of his jacket, and lifted him up until his feet were barely touching the ground. She held him there, effortlessly, as if he weighed nothing. You listen to me very carefully, Rachel said, her voice low and controlled but carrying absolute authority. You're never going to come back. You're never going to threaten my son. You're never going to even think about us again. Because if you do, I'm going to find you. And I'm going to make sure you understand that hurting children is not something that happens in this country. Do you understand me? The man nodded, his eyes wide with fear. Rachel set him down carefully and then stepped back. Within seconds, police cars started arriving. The sirens wailed as officers poured into the parking lot. They saw 3 men, clearly injured, and 1 woman standing calmly beside her car. Step back from the vehicle, one of the officers commanded, his hand on his service weapon. Rachel slowly raised her hands, keeping them visible. She could see Tommy in the back seat of the car, tears streaming down his face. He was scared, but he was okay. That was all that mattered. "Officer, I'm Commander Rachel Martinez, Navy SEAL," she said calmly. "These 3 men attempted to rob me and assault me in front of my son. I defended myself in accordance with my training and my legal right to self-defense." The officer's eyes widened. He recognized the name. Commander Rachel Martinez was famous in law enforcement circles. Her military service was known. Her bravery was legendary. And every officer in America knew that you didn't mess with someone who had trained the way she had. "Are you hurt?" another officer asked, his tone now respectful. "I'm fine," Rachel said. "My son is in the vehicle. I need to check on him." These 3 men are the criminals. They initiated the assault. Within minutes, paramedics arrived. The men were treated for their injuries, nothing serious, just bumps and bruises and wounded pride. They were arrested on the spot. Tommy was taken out of the car, and Rachel held him while he cried. She didn't say anything about what had happened. She just held him, whispering that everything was going to be okay. That Mommy was here. That he was safe. That was the important part. He was safe. The story exploded on the internet that night. Someone had filmed the entire thing. Video of a woman, calmly and efficiently, defending herself against 3 armed criminals in a parking lot. Within hours, the footage had been shared on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and every other social media platform. By the next morning, news outlets were picking it up. "Local woman defends herself against 3 attackers," the headlines read. But then, as reporters dug deeper and found out who she was, the story changed. Navy SEAL commander thwarts robbery attempt in parking lot. Then it became even bigger. Hero mother protects son from criminals. Turns out she's a decorated Navy SEAL. The military community rallied around her. Soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen shared the video with pride. Here was a woman who dedicated her life to protecting America, now protecting her own son in a parking lot in Portland, Oregon. It was powerful. It was inspiring. It was exactly the kind of justice that people wanted to see. But the real turning point came 3 days later, when the police department released the full story. The 3 men had a long history of violent crimes. They'd robbed at least 8 different people in the past 3 months. They'd assaulted 2 women just like Rachel in the month before. They were predators who'd been operating in the area because they thought they could get away with it. Now they were facing multiple felony charges. Attempt, robbery, assault, threats against a child. The prosecutor made it clear that these men would spend a significant amount of time in prison. But what made the story truly powerful was what Rachel did next. She refused to be hailed as a hero. In interviews with reporters, she kept saying the same thing. "I did what any parent would do. I protected my child. But the real issue isn't what I did. The real issue is that there are predators like these men who think they can hurt women and children without consequences. The real issue is that women and children shouldn't have to be trained fighters just to feel safe in a parking lot." Her words resonated with people. Mothers started sharing stories of times they'd felt unsafe. Women talked about how they'd been harassed and had nowhere to turn. The story evolved from "woman beats up robbers" to a larger conversation about safety, justice, and what it means to be vulnerable in America. The police captain called Rachel at home. "Commander Martinez, I wanted to personally thank you for what you did," he said. "But I also wanted you to know that we've used your case to increase patrols in that area. We've also started looking at the patterns of these criminals, and we believe we can connect them to several other unsolved robberies." That call led to more arrests. That led to more predators being taken off the street. The prosecutor assigned to the case was a woman named Sarah Chen. She was 56 years old and had been fighting criminals her entire career. She called Rachel one afternoon. "I wanted you to know that your case is being used as a training example for our department," Sarah said. "We're teaching young officers how to handle situations like this. Your calm, controlled approach is exactly what we teach. You didn't escalate unnecessarily. You used appropriate force. And you protected your child without putting yourself or innocent bystanders at risk. Rachel was humbled by the recognition, but she knew that what she'd done wasn't unique. Thousands of parents defended their children every single day. Most of them never made the news. Most of them went through life thinking they'd done something wrong because society told them that violence, even defensive violence, was always bad. But Rachel knew the truth. Sometimes, protecting the people you love requires standing up to evil. Sometimes, it requires force. And that's not something to be ashamed of. That's something to understand. The 3 criminals went to trial 4 months later. The evidence was overwhelming. The video was clear. Their previous crimes were documented. They were convicted on all counts. The judge gave them each 8 years in prison. In her statement to the court, Rachel was composed and professional. Your Honor, these men made a choice to commit a crime. They made a choice to threaten my child. They made a choice to assault me. I made the choice to defend myself and my son with the skills I've developed through my military training. I'm grateful that the justice system has held them accountable for their actions. I hope that other young men thinking about hurting people in parking lots realize that there are consequences. And I hope that other parents, whether they are trained fighters or not, know that they have the right to protect their children. As she walked out of the courthouse, Tommy was waiting for her. He was 9 years old now, having had a birthday since the parking lot incident. He ran to her and threw his arms around her. You're so strong, Mommy, he said. Rachel knelt down and looked into his eyes. I am strong, she said. But you're going to be even stronger. And I'm going to teach you that strength isn't about hurting people. It's about protecting people. It's about standing up to evil. And it's about never, ever being a victim. 6 months after the trial ended, something remarkable happened. Rachel was invited to speak at Lincoln High School about her experience. She stood in front of a gymnasium full of teenagers, kids just like the ones the 3 criminals probably were 20 years ago, before they started making bad choices. I want to talk to you about strength, Rachel said, her voice calm and clear. Real strength isn't about how big your muscles are. It's not about how intimidating you look. Real strength is about character. It's about making the right choice when nobody's looking. It's about standing up for people who can't stand up for themselves. She told them the story of that Saturday afternoon. But she also told them about the choices that led 3 men to become criminals. She talked about the importance of mentors, of family, of having something to believe in and fight for. My son saw me fight that day, Rachel said. And do you know what he learned? He learned that sometimes you have to stand up to evil. But he also learned something more important. He learned that violence should always be a last resort. That communication and running away and asking for help are all things real men and women do. That being tough doesn't mean being cruel. The teenagers sat in absolute silence, listening to every word. After the speech, dozens of them came up to shake her hand. Some of them were kids from rough backgrounds, kids who thought that being strong meant hurting people. But Rachel's words had reached something inside them. They realized that there was another path. A path that didn't involve robbery or assault or threatening children. One particular kid stayed behind after everyone else left. He was 17, with rough hands and a harder face. But his eyes were searching. Ms. Martinez, did you ever want to hurt those guys? He asked. Like, did you want to do more damage than what was necessary? Rachel sat down beside him. Yes, she said honestly. When he threatened my son, there was a part of me that wanted to make sure he never threatened anyone again. But I didn't do that. Do you know why? Because hurting him more wouldn't have changed anything. It would have only made things worse. It would have made me into something I don't want to be. So how did you control it? The kid asked. Training, Rachel said. And discipline. And knowing what I'm fighting for. I'm not fighting to hurt people. I'm fighting to protect people. That's the difference. The kid nodded slowly. My dad never taught me that stuff, he said quietly. Then let me teach you, Rachel said. Come to the community center on Tuesday nights. I'm starting a self-defense class for kids in rough neighborhoods. It's free. And I'm going to teach you that real strength is about protecting, not hurting. That one conversation led to something bigger. Rachel started getting involved in community programs. She started mentoring at-risk youth. She started advocating for better police training and better support systems for women who'd been assaulted. The 3 men who tried to rob her in the parking lot? They're doing their time in prison. But more importantly, their story has become a warning and a lesson. Young men hear the story and think twice before committing violence. Young women hear the story and realize that they don't have to be victims. 1 year after the parking lot incident, Rachel was invited to the Pentagon. Military leaders wanted to honor her not just for her combat service, but for the way she'd handled the parking lot situation. They used it as a case study for how to handle defensive situations with precision, control, and appropriate force. But the honor that meant the most to Rachel came from her son. Tommy was 10 years old now. He'd learned that his mother was strong, but not in the way he'd initially thought. She was strong because she made hard choices. She was strong because she protected people. She was strong because she used her power for good. One day, Tommy came home from school and told Rachel that he'd stood up to a bully who was hurting a younger kid. "Did you get in a fight?" Rachel asked, her heart jumping. "No," Tommy said. "I told a teacher. I reported it. But I told the bully that I knew how to defend myself if he tried anything. I think he was scared, so he stopped." Rachel pulled her son close and held him. "That's exactly right," she said. "You used your strength to protect someone else, but you did it the smart way. You got help from an authority figure. That's what real strength is." Final message and call to action. Here's what we learn from Rachel's story. Asterisk strength comes in many forms. It's not always about being the toughest or the biggest. Real strength is about knowing when to stand up, when to back down, and how to protect the people you love without becoming a monster yourself. Asterisk. Rachel Martinez could have seriously hurt those 3 men. She had the training. She had the skills. She could have made sure they never committed another crime again, permanently, but she didn't. She used the minimum force necessary to protect herself and her child. That's not weakness. That's discipline. That's wisdom. That's what separates heroes from villains. The real victory in this story isn't that 3 criminals went to prison. The real victory is that Rachel inspired a community. She inspired young people to make better choices. She inspired women to stand up for themselves. She inspired everyone to understand that there's a difference between being tough and being right. Every single day, people face dangerous situations. Every single day, someone has to make the choice to stand up or back down. This story is a reminder that when you do have to stand up, you can do it with honor. You can do it with discipline. You can do it in a way that makes you proud. If this story inspired you, if it moved you, if it made you think about strength and justice and protection in a new way, I need you to do something for me right now. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on your notifications. Because every week, we bring you stories just like this one. Stories of people who stood up, who fought back, who refused to be victims. Asterisk, share this video with someone you know. Someone who needs to hear that real strength is about protecting people, not hurting them. Someone who needs to understand that justice still exists in this world. Someone who needs to know that standing up to evil is always possible. Asterisk. Asterisk, tell us in the comments. What would you do in Rachel's situation? Have you ever had to stand up to someone stronger or more dangerous than you? Have you ever been inspired to be stronger by someone else's example? Your stories matter. Your comments matter. Because every single one of you is part of a community that values justice, protection, and doing the right thing. Asterisk. Asterisk, thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Remember, real strength protects. Real strength defends. Real strength is always about making the world safer for the people you love. Asterisk. Asterisk, subscribe now. Don't miss a single story. Asterisk.